When you know who you are and you're clear about the big impact you're called to make in the earth, you are unstoppable. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Unstoppable You podcast with me, Tish Times. I am a business and sales coach, and I teach professionals to be more confident, make much more money, and change lives. This podcast always features lively discussions with savvy business and life experts and tips for building better business relationships, helping you to move your confidence needle in the right direction, shortening the sales cycle, and achieving massive success without compromising your core values. If you want more information about myself and the things that we do here at Tish Times Networking and Sales Training, just visit us at tishtimes.com. And while you're here, why don't you go ahead and stop and hit the subscribe button so you can, wherever you're listening to us, subscribe on SoundCloud or Stitcher or iTunes, wherever you might have found us. We love to keep hanging out with us. If you have found this on our Facebook page, hit the like button so you can stay up to date on what we have going on. Today, I am so stoked, and I am probably more excited than normal because I have with me today Dr. Will Moreland, and he is local to the Phoenix area where I live, and we travel in some of the same circles, but have yet to really have any time to get together, so I'm so excited to have him here with me today. Dr. Will is a highly sought-after business and transformational leadership trainer. Now, he is known as America's #1 leadership life trainer. Check this out, right? And as the founder and CEO of Will Moreland International LLC, Dr. Will is one of the most provocative thought leaders and leadership trainers of our time. He is a noted speaker, a best-selling author and business coach, and he inspires individuals to live their genius potential, to embrace passion and achieve personal greatness through life harmony. I'm excited for you all to meet Dr. Will Moreland. So, Dr. Will, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. I read a little bit of your bio. There's so much more to it, I know. Tell us one thing you want people to know that probably isn't on any of your bios.
Well, you know what? That's a great question. I'm excited to be here with you as well. Thank you for having me. One thing that's not on my bio that most people are shocked to find out when I say this is I'm really an introvert. Even though I travel all around the world, when I get back here to Phoenix, I really just like to hide out. I'm an introvert. I can just be in my man cave. And so whenever I tell people that, they're always shocked because they see me out in the public all the time, but I really am a recluse. Like, I just really love to hang out in my man cave.
That's probably why I admire you so much, because I'm the same way. And people see, people like us that are on stages often or training and talking all the time. Yeah, not the same in private, not the same at home, right?
But a big disappointment. People always, invite me out to dinner and they're like, talk, say something, you do it. Like my wife always says that, like, talk. You talk to everybody else and then you get quiet at home. And I'm like, I just finished talking. I just want to be quiet, right?
We have something in common there, sir. Very, very much. I'm the one that's like, I've been talking all day. I don't really want to talk. The phone rings, I look at it, and they're like, answer the phone. I'm like, no, I've been talking all day. So I completely understand without a doubt. Why don't you, I've enjoyed, obviously, getting a chance to see you, and we follow each other on social media, so I see some of your public types of things. I read something about you not long ago that I thought was quite interesting about you having grown up in Compton and, got into some trouble as a young man and then went into the military. What do you, if unless this is it specifically, what would you consider your confidence story? What's the thing that's really shifted for you and brought you into where you are today?
Well, I think for anybody that has any degree of success, I think there is a moment that it kind of switches for you. And for me, it happened about 15 years ago. I was on my first trip to Ghana, and I got invited to speak in Ghana at a leadership conference. And to be honest with you, I was just very timid about the opportunity. I really didn't know why they were selecting me. So much so that when I got off the airplane and my host picked me up, I began to question them and say, why me? And I was like, have you guys ever heard of T.D. Jakes? Have you guys ever heard of Miles Monroe? Have you guys ever heard of John Maxwell? Why me? And I'll never forget, this was a transformational moment for me. The guy looked at me, his name is Akwi. Akwi looked at me and they said, we do not know those gentlemen, but we do know Dr. Will. And that's who we wanted to be here. And in that moment, for me, it allowed me to know that my voice mattered, that I had something to say, and maybe not everybody in the world wanted to listen, but there were a collective group of individuals that wanted to listen to what I had to say. And for me, that was the light bulb moment that said, you know what? I'm not going to diminish my light. I'm not going to diminish my gift. I'm not going to diminish my calling to the world. And for me, that trip to Ghana 15, 16 years ago was the transformational moment for me, or my confidence moment for me.
Oh, man, I am so glad that you shared that. That really blesses me. And I know the people that are listening are feeling the same way. I think that often we kind of judge ourselves or compare ourselves based on other people's expertise or, being more well-known or having bigger audiences. And that really speaks to me. I'm so glad that you shared that. Thank you very much for your, just being willing to be transparent in this moment. Thank you for that.
It was a great moment, and I think you're absolutely right. I think all of us at some point diminish who we are because we're always comparing. And I heard it said before, never compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 20, right? And so just appreciate where you are in the journey, maximize the opportunities that's before you, and whatever for you will come for you.
I love that. I love that. That kind of leads me to my next question, because I think that I know for myself, I am not the person today that I was when I first started this company or when I first started in business for myself, period. I've had to transform and step into new roles and become more, bolder in some areas and more in some areas, become a little bit more reserved where I wanted to step up and say something, know when the right time is. What would you say, or who would you say rather, you've had to become in order to arrive at the level of success that you currently enjoy?
That's a great question. For me, it was becoming clear on who Will Moreland is. And I love what you just said about it really is an evolving process. I'm not the same person I was 17 years ago when I started this journey, when I left the military. And what you'll find out, and everybody that's listening to us, you'll ever be evolving. Like when I first started the company, I had to become a more disciplined entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like everybody talks about time freedom. And I think as an entrepreneur, what happens is you have all this time and you think you have time. Yeah. And so the things that I should be doing at 7 a.m., I'll put it off because I say, oh, you know what? I don't have a boss over my head. I'll do it at 2 o'clock. I'll do it at 3 o'clock. What I had to find out earlier on is I had to be disciplined. I still had to have working hours. I still had to have a 9 to 5. Right? As an entrepreneur, I still had to create a 9 to 5, some specific tasks that I had to do within those hours. But then as the company began to grow, I learned that me as a leader, leading other people, I had to evolve as a better leader, as a better communicator. I had to be able to communicate my vision a lot better because it wasn't just me. Before, everything was inside my head. And one of the most difficult things was settling down, to be able to write it down, to be able to explain to someone else what we needed to be done without getting frustrated, without going through that, you know what, if it's got to be done, it just has to be done by me, that me against the world type thing, right? Yeah. And then as the company even got larger, I had to learn how to get out of the company's way. I had to hire an operations manager, and I had to allow Kenny to do what he does, and so the company could excel. So it's been a process of me just ever evolving and always asking myself, Will, who do you need to be today for this company? Who do you need to be today? And it's not one person. It's always evolving. I'm always learning. I'm always expanding. I'm always eliciting mentors in my life to help me at the particular level that I am, whether it's, personally or financially or the size of the company. I'm always evolving.
Man, that was a great answer. I don't know that as entrepreneurs, we often realize that we have to look at that on a daily basis. It is a different person sometimes for the task at hand, right? For the challenge that's ahead of us. So I get that. I definitely completely agree. And I've been the bottleneck in my company before, so I know sometimes it's important for us to get out of our own way and get out of the company's way as well. Tell me, who have been the biggest connections for you? You mentioned having to get mentors and people who could assist you in specific areas of your life. Who would you say have been the biggest connections that have helped you to be successful, more confident, and really be the person that you are?
It goes back. The first person I have to say is my grandmother, who raised me back in the early '80s in Compton. She was a single Black female who raised her own 4 kids and then raised many of her kids, me included. And to see this strong African American woman own her own house, go to UCLA, one of the top colleges, if not in California, in the United States, get her degree. I saw my grandmother get her doctorate degree at the age of 75.
Wow.
And so that right there, when you have those type of polarizing images, it's just been amazing. And then all throughout my life, I have what I call disruptors, mentors that have come into my life that have disrupted a pattern of thinking that maybe I had that was limiting me. If I go back to the Army, it was a guy by the name of Walter Bass, Sergeant Major Bass. He was the one that literally saved my military career when I was getting ready to throw it away. He interrupted it. Later on, I had a pastor who stepped in that began to mentor me and give me some great wisdom. And so it's probably not people that are widely known to the population, but it's people that have just played an integral part in my life at very defined times in my life. And they've been there to be a voice, and I call them disruptors because they just disrupted a pattern of thinking or maybe some habits that I had that was going to limit me from becoming the best person I could be. And so that list is a long list, of individuals that have helped me.
Oh, wow. That's great. And I'm glad that you are recognizing those people that everybody else doesn't know, because it doesn't matter if everybody else knows them or not. It just matters that they were in your life at the time
Right.
when you needed them the most. And I can totally understand that. There's people in my life very similarly that I thought I was going in one direction and thought I had it all together, only to hear, in some cases, one word that changed my life. There's a gentleman that he's a very good friend of mine. Matter of fact, he's been such a good, long-standing friend. He actually married my husband and I. He was the minister that married us. But
Oh,
when I was
wow.
a young teenager, well, I was 20 years old, 21, 22 years old, and trying to go to college, and I had 2 little boys. I got married very early on. And I literally was just trying to make it, right? Just trying to make life happen. And I was trying to get some help, financial help from the ministry where I was a part of and still am a part of. And I asked him for money when I needed to pay some bills. And I'll never forget him saying to me, said, "No, Tish, I can't help you this time because you're developing a welfare mentality." And
Wow.
yeah, and he could have easily just punched me in the stomach. That's how it felt. It felt like such a gut punch, but it was such a life changer for me because it stopped me from depending on other people to take care of me and learning how to, number one, for me, trust God. Number two, how to be able to do things on my own. So it sounds like you've had some people who've disrupted your life in that way also, and maybe said some things that you weren't expecting, but took you in a better direction.
Man, if I can add to that, that is probably one of the most powerful things that can ever happen to you is that you have somebody in your life that in those types of moments tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And what it does, and I know this, what it did for you, because I know what that looks like. It made you question the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It made you get upset.
Yep.
It made you sit back. It made you reflect. And it made you say, you know what, how am I going to take this information? How am I going to digest this information?
Yeah.
And this information can help me or it can hurt me. And I had a similar situation where one of my mentors, he told me something like that. And it made me, number one, at first get mad. But then I had to settle down and I say, well, you know what? I respect this person. This person loves me. They wouldn't have said that to hurt me. So why did they say it? What am I missing in the message? So let me put anger aside. And that, in the same way, that same situation, it helped me to become a better man, the way I looked at my family. And I'll tell you, I got married young too, and it was the same type of situation, and it was with me dealing with my wife, and he gut punched me. It's like, man, you're not being a man, you know. Like, what you mean I'm not being a man, you know? And so I definitely know exactly that type of feeling, and I think we're always the better for it when we have people who tell us the truth.
Oh my God, yes. I'm so grateful. And I think we're probably as close as we are now because of that statement that, you know, for probably a couple of weeks, I did not want to hear him. I didn't want to know he was on the earth, but I'm very, very, very grateful. It took my life in a very different direction. Tell me, what would you say to the person, you know, similarly, who comes into your world and they need help, but they may not know what they need. Maybe they think they need this, but you can see that they need something totally different. And when you have someone who's a little resistant to the information, as you might have been when you heard that, how do you handle that? How do you help someone get past where they are when they can't see that they need this help?
It's very difficult. And I tell you, it's not an easy answer because it does take some discernment in terms of, and you know this journey, the more you begin to get successful, the more people start to reach out to you, whether it's for just help in their business. A lot of times it's financial help, and I get a lot of those calls. And I had to learn from me because I am naturally a giver. I learned from my grandmother to give and things like that. But I also had to learn, here's the biggest lesson for me was I had to stop being people's God. I was becoming people's God. I was becoming their rescue.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, for me, I never want to get someone out of the process. And what I mean by the process, it's like the butterfly. The butterfly has to break out of that cocoon. And I don't know how true this is, but it sounds good, so I'll say it. They tell me in that process of breaking out of the cocoon, the struggle of that process is what produces the colors of the butterfly. And without that struggle and without that process, they don't get those beautiful colors. And so for me, I never want to get in someone's way because I know for me, when I was in my most difficult situations, when nobody came to save me is when I came up with my best solutions, when I really found out who I was, whether it was negative or positive. And you need to know that. You need to know how you're going to respond when you get pushed all the way. Are you going to go rob a bank or are you going to come up with $1 million idea? And you need to understand who you are. And sometimes flaws. I know in my own journey, sometimes when it got hot, I was like, man, let me revert back to my Compton days. And then I had to remember, like, hey, is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? And so for me, to answer your question, I really never want to take somebody out the process. I pray and I kind of discern. And if I listen to it and I think it's a situation that's not going to kill them, it may make them uncomfortable. It may even allow them to lose some things, but it's not going to kill them. I let them go through the process because I know at the end of the process, they're going to be better. They may be mad at me for a moment, but they'll be better.
Oh my God, that's so good. I think as coaches, we sometimes rob people of the opportunity to grow when we want to rescue them. I'm so glad you said that because I hope that all of you all who are listening are hearing this, whether it is your children, whether it's your clients, whether it's a friend. We have to be, this is the thing I believe. If we love them enough to allow them to stay, because many times I love me and I don't want to hurt your feelings because you're going to be mad at me, right? So it's not about you at that moment. It's really about me. But if I love you enough to let you sit in that process, then I give you the liberty to be able to really transform. And I think what you just said is so, I mean, it could be a pivotal moment for someone who's listening to understand that importance of letting someone go through that process. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. So what would you say is the one word that would describe your journey? If you had to just, literally sum up your journey from where you've been to where you are right now in one word, what would that word be and why?
That's a great question. If I had to sum it up in one word, that word would be blessed. And when you know the definition of that Hebrew word, it means to be empowered. And I look at my entire journey, and especially here lately, in the last 3 or 4 years, I've done a reassessment of even growing up in California, being raised by a single mother, being raised by my grandmother, having a father who was in jail at many times throughout my adolescence, even me going to jail and being involved in gangs. When I look at it and I summarize it, all those experiences, all those obstacles, all those heartaches, the word blessed means empowered. And all of that has empowered me and equipped me to do the work that I do today in such a meaningful way. And so when I look at everything, the whole journey of what I've been through, I just feel blessed. I feel empowered, and it allows me with true conviction to do what I do every day on a daily basis.
Oh, wow. I love it. Perfect word, perfect explanation of it as well. Man. Well, one of the things that we do in this company is we help people to sell with what I call unstoppable confidence. I think confidence oftentimes is the stopping point for many people, in addition to other things. What would you say? And I've read a couple of your materials as well, so I know that the answer to this, I'm excited about the answer to this. What would you say is your sales secret? Some people feel like if I do this, I'm able to, really build my business. For others, it's really about the relationship. For others, it's about being able to know what to say. What would you say is your sales secret, Dr. Will?
So anytime we talk about sales, right, we always default to the old adage of clients and customers, they only buy from people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I've learned to get people to know me, like me, and trust me is this one word here, and that's consistency. Whatever you're doing, you have to be consistent. If you're consistent, people are going to get to know you. If you're consistent, people are going to make the choice if they like you or not. And because I'm consistent, you're going to get to find out early enough. You hear me enough, you're going to find out, you know what? I like this guy. I don't like this guy. I'm going to tune into this guy. I'm not going to tune into this guy. But only consistency brings people to that point. And because I'm consistent, because they know, it's like when you go to a store, because the store is reliable, this store opens up at 7 o'clock, they close at 10 o'clock. Yeah. That's consistency. If the store opened up at 8 o'clock one day and 10 o'clock the other day and 11 o'clock one day, then you can't trust them. You don't know. You can't refer them to anybody. You can't say, oh, it's 8 o'clock. Yep, they're going to be open. And so for me, one of the things more than ever is just being consistent. I tell people this all the time. Even on social media, everybody, you work with social media, everybody says, man, how do I get people to engage with me? How do I get people to show up to my page? Nobody wants to watch my video. Nobody likes my post. Nobody retweets. And I tell people all the time, when I got on social media 10 years ago, it was crickets. Nobody was liking anything. I'm saying the same thing I was saying 10 years ago, right? The only thing that has changed is I've just been saying it for 10 years.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Oh my God. I have on my board over here a phrase that I wrote says consistency is the best marketing. And I completely agree. I was just doing a training this morning telling the people, you know what, just stop looking at the number. If you're doing a Facebook Live, scroll it up on your screen so you can't see the number, because that will cause you to get discouraged. Whereas if you show up and you show up and you show up, eventually people will show up for you. And I completely agree with that. I think that you're absolutely right. But it's the hardest thing to do though, right? When you're not seeing the results immediately, how does someone stay there for 10 years when they're tuning into the number, they're thinking about the people who aren't there, they're looking at the current results instead of the future investment that they're making? What would you say to someone who's listening to us going, yeah, but? What would you say?
Yeah, so it goes back to the whole clarity thing. You got to be clear that this is what you're doing. A lot of times I find people, they're mimicking, right? They're just mimicking and copying other people. And mimicking and copying is very different than modeling, right? I can know who I am and model the example that Tish puts out there in the marketplace, or I can see what Tish is doing and try to copy her, but my heart's not into it. I'm not passionate about it. So when no one is clicking in, when no one is retweeting, when no one is giving me hearts, I'm going to faint. I'm going to give up. I'm going to lose heart. But when you know this is what you're supposed to be doing, if you just help one person, if you just save one person with your work, I'll share this with you. When I got ready to write my first book years ago, I was excited like most of us are. I thought it was going to be the book that changed the world. It was going to be the next, Think and Grow Rich. It was going to be the next, the next big blockbuster. And as I'm writing this book, I have all these illusions of grandeur, and I'm thinking like, yes, I'm going on Oprah. This is going to be it, right?
Yes.
And in the process of writing that book, I heard a still small voice say to me, if it only helped one person, would it be worth it?
Wow. Wow.
And I stopped. I said, no, wait, hold on. This is the book that's supposed to get me my mansion. This is the book that's supposed to get me my Bentley. Hold on. And I had to stop and think. If one person read it, and if it got them out of their dark place, if it got their life turned around, would it be worth it? And I had to question my motives about why I'm doing this work. And when I resolved that, you know what, if it helps one person, then for me, it's never been about the numbers. It's never been about the attention. It's never been about the popularity. It's about me doing work that inspires me, that moves me, that I believe that if someone comes in contact with it, if it's only one person, that it will help them. Now, I understand we have a business, we got to run business, and we got to know our numbers, and there's some techniques we can do. But before we even get to the techniques and how we can push your numbers up, you got to ask yourself, why are you genuinely doing this? Why are you wanting to do and show up in this type of way every single day?
I love it. Wow, that is so good. And it's a good question for us to ask ourselves pretty much daily. What's this really about? Because if we have any other motive, you're right. It'll take us out. The discouragement will take us off of our train every single time. So I think that if someone will hear that, it'll change the way they're doing life, not just business, but the way that they're doing life. So
Exactly.
last question, Dr. Will. If someone is, trying to figure out, how do I get to the place where Dr. Will Moreland is? How do I find my own groove and get to a successful place? What is one thing that you would say to someone that can help them to be more unstoppable this week, within the next 30 days? Not something we know we can make lots of future investments. We can plant a lot of seeds that will bring harvest far, far out in the future. But what could someone do? What could someone do this week? One thing that would help them to start to see a shift in the way that they're doing their business right now.
The one thing for me is, if you just ask yourself, what is my mission? Why do I wake up every single day? And here's the thing, guys, I'm telling you this. This is off of experience. It's never going to happen like you thought it was going to happen. I'm a big person on writing your goals. I'm a big person on the vision boards. I'm a big person on all of that type of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I know for sure. If you just wake up and say, you know what, this is my mission. For me, is to impact, inspire, and influence people around the world. That's my mission, whether it's through a Facebook post, whether it's through doing this podcast, whether it's through speaking. That's my mission. All the things, and I'll tell you this, I had the opportunity to sit down with Shirley Caesar. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's
Absolutely.
a gospel legend, and she's just been in the business for years, like 5 decades. That's 50 years, right?
Right.
So for 5 decades. And I had the opportunity to sit down with her, and I said, Pastor Caesar, can you tell me, you won all these awards and you got all this accolades. How did you not lose focus? And she says, I always remember that I didn't get into it for the awards. I didn't get into it for all the other stuff. And so none of the stuff can distract me.
Oh, wow. That's good.
And when she told me that, I got it. And you can't let the other stuff distract you. And when people come up in my office here, I have nothing on the wall. I have no awards, no degrees, no nothing, because none of that matters today, because all of that is a reflection of yesterday, what people thought about you yesterday. If I won the Father of the Year award 3 years ago, my kids want me to be a good father today. Yes. I can't say, hey, you know what? I won it 3 years ago. I'm good. I'm straight. No, they want to know that I'm engaged today. And so I never try to forget. I never try to get caught up in any of the good stuff that happens that we say is good stuff, the awards or all that type of stuff. I remember this is my mission, to impact, inspire, and influence every single day. All the other stuff is nice. I appreciate it, but that's not why none of that stuff was on my goal list. None of it was, oh, I want to win this. I want to do that. My thing was, man, I just want to wake up every single day with a smile on my face and complete my mission. And so if you're listening to me, there's going to be some things that happen for you that you didn't even know were going to happen. And then there's some things that are going to happen that you wish didn't happen. But at the end of the day, it's all working for your good if you stay focused and fixed on the prize. And so that's what I try to do. And that would be my suggestion. That would be my counsel to anybody that's listening to us. Just find your mission, fall in love with your mission and do that. Yes, once again, you want to put your business acumen behind it and all that type of stuff. But all that should just fuel what you're passionate about.
Wow. And that is all we need to hear for today. That was awesome. So good. It's so easy to get distracted by things that don't even matter and then find ourselves way behind the curve wishing we would have did what you just said. So I am grateful. Dr. Will, you have been such a tremendous blessing today. I'm so glad that you took time to hang out with me and with the audience. And I know that someone is going to hear something that will be life-changing for them. So thank you very much.
Once again, thank you for having me. And let me say this before we get off. Thank you for everything that you're doing, how you're impacting the world, and how you're even providing this platform for individuals like us to share our message. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing in our space of personal development and even here in Arizona. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot coming from you, Dr. Will. Have a wonderful day. We'll definitely stay connected and we'll get together and have that dinner with our families. So I want to say that this has been an absolute joy being able to hang out with Dr. Will Moreland. I want women and men to have real confidence in business so they can master sales conversations, network like a pro, and make life-changing income. But look, sometimes just hearing someone else's confidence story can be the springboard or the blueprint for you to leap to your next level. I hope that this episode has left you with questions as well as answers to begin to explore how you can become even more unstoppable. I will see or hear you next week. Just make sure that you hit the subscribe button. If you found us on Facebook, hit that like button so you can always see what's happening with us here on the Unstoppable You podcast. Before I let us go today, I want to close with just a real quick message. Dr. Will, will you just tell us how people can reach you should they hear this and say, I need more from this man? How would someone find you?
The easiest way is just to go to social media on any of the platforms. My tag is at Dr. Will Speaks. So at DrWillSpeaks, Dr. Will Speaks. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, just at Dr. Will Speaks. So you can find me. I would love to hear from you.
Perfect. Well, those of you all who hung out with us today and have heard this amazing message, don't sleep on the information. You've heard something that can literally I think easily take your journey a lot faster if you implement what you've heard. So take this information, do something with it, and we'll see you back here next week on the Unstoppable You podcast. When you know who you are and you're clear about the big impact you're called to make in the earth, you are unstoppable.